Folks, the Edmonton Oilers look absolutely cooked. Connor McDavid is injured, and the Oilers have started their season out 1-4-1. Pretty much the worst start you could ever imagine. But what is wrong with this Oilers team? Can they rebound, or will this be an Oilers squad that misses the playoffs this season? Well, make sure you watch till the end, because we're going to be answering all of that, going through this entire team to see what's next. And make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new for more hockey content just like this all throughout the season. Now, this year was supposed to be a leap for the Oilers, supposed to be a year that they finally took a next step in the playoffs. So far, though, for their first 6 games, it's been a dumpster fire. When you look at the entire NHL, only the Washington Capitals and the San Jose Sharks have as many points or less than the Oilers right now. And we knew the Caps and the Sharks were going to be bad, but the Caps have played one less game and are tying the Oilers in points. And when you look at good old points percentage, the Edmonton Oilers are only ahead of the team with pretty much the worst defense in NHL history. So there's that. And in terms of goal differential, of course, Edmonton is down to the dumpster with the third worst goal differential on -10 in the league. In the first game of the year versus Vancouver, things were already not going Edmonton's way. I mean, just look at this. Now, the Oilers didn't do themselves any favors defensively. I mean, this play is a horrible example. Evan Bouchard, I mean, what is even going on there? And the Oilers would start out this season with not the best start in the world, losing 8-1 versus the Vancouver Canucks. Now, the Oilers would play the Canucks again, and this was a great opportunity to get some revenge, right? You know how this goes. The game would actually start pretty decently for them. A big scramble in front, and Draisaitl is there to pick up the leftovers, their first lead of the season. Unfortunately for the Oilers, penalties would continue to be their downfall, and coming here right from the point, Quinn Hughes, great shot, and Kuzmenko in front for the tip. 1-1. And the scoring would continue here for Vancouver. Nils Hoglander right in front of the net for the tip, and it's 2-1. Now, Connor McDavid would score a goal to tie it up 2-2, but afterwards, they would have a brutal goal against. You can see, you wouldn't be able to see an Oiler on this side, but all 5 Oilers were joining the rush here on the attack, trying to score a goal. It goes badly, though, and right after this, as it goes along the boards, you have Elias Pettersson coming in on a 2-on-0 Jag Studnicka, and Pettersson does what he does best, and it's 3-2. But everybody was up in the rush, every single Edmonton Oiler, and they were all left flat-footed. And of course, with the game tied in the third period, the Oilers will give up another brutal goal against. Mattias Ekholm has had a rough start to the season, and this was a rough goal allowed. Sam Lafferty, great speed, comes right through and just outworks him for the 4-3 goal, and the score would stay, and the Oilers would lose their second straight game to start the year. And after those first couple losses to Vancouver, it got slightly better in the very next game. They finally had a complete game, winning 6-1 versus the Nashville Predators, but then they lose to the Philadelphia Flyers 4-1. They lose in overtime to the Winnipeg Jets, and they just lost a horrible defeat to the Minnesota Wild 7-4. Again, that defense continuing to be a problem. This goal to me showed a lot of the defensive issues for Edmonton. It was 3-3, all tied up. And right here along the boards, Evan Bouchard, the puck is swinging around. He tries to come get it, but it goes off of his stick. And of course, Minnesota's able to turn it over right there. Bam, it's 4-3. Right off Bouchard, lackadaisical defense in his own zone, but that Minnesota forward check, putting on pressure, continuing to get it through, and eventually they would get rewarded. But again, you just see the lackadaisical play in Evan Bouchard, just kind of looking like he's in a preseason skate, not really having a care in the world, and that giveaway would bite them. When you look at the entire NHL and the most goals against so far this season, the Edmonton Oilers are second last with 27 goals against. Only the Carolina Hurricanes are above them, which we could go into a whole different video about the Hurricanes right now, but they are likely, a lot more likelier than Edmonton to turn around defensively. But Edmonton right now, with how they've been playing, they haven't even scored 28 goals like the Carolina Hurricanes have. They've been in a drought offensively. Their defense has looked horrendous. Their goaltending has been below average. Everything about Edmonton has been a disaster so far, a nightmare this season. But you go down the list of Edmonton Oilers defense so far, and you see the plus minuses, the goals against, a -8 for Bouchard, a -5 for Ekholm, and continuing to go down the list. The only player that's even or above is Cody Ceci right now, as he's an even through 6 games. That is the best on this Oilers defense. That's the best they have to offer, is Cody Ceci. And there's been injuries for Edmonton, but there has been no injuries on the defense. They are perfectly healthy. This is how this defense is supposed to be, and that's kind of scary, isn't it? Now, the actual goals against only tell part of the story. When it comes to expected goals against per 60 at 5-on-5, you generally want to be around the 2.5 range, which you have a few D that are around that with Nurse, CC, Kulak being around that range and below. But you also have three of defensemen here who are playing big minutes. You have Philip Broberg with 3.41. Anything above 2.5 is a little bit below average, but if you're in the 3 range as a defenseman, that defense is just not putting up good results. Bouchard, of course, allowing a lot of expected goals against. Ekholm a lot. Philip Broberg is allowing a ton of expected goals against when he's on the ice 5-on-5, and you can see some big pitfalls here. Ekholm has just had a rough start to this season, man. Last year when he was acquired, he was looking great. He was great for Nashville during the year defensively. For the Oilers in the regular season, he was fantastic for them. But this year, it seems like this might be a sign of aging right now because he does not look at the top of his game whatsoever. And this was potentially the main problem of Ekholm in a trade, is that age and potential decline. We all know that he would be good when they traded for him in the trade deadline, but he's 33 years old, and we didn't really know when that aging might come, if it would come, when it would come for Edmonton, and that's created some big problems already. If he is already aging, if he is already past his prime, and of course, looking rough for Edmonton, that whole defense looks different, and there is a top 4 defenseman that you cannot rely upon like they used to. And you look at his cap hit, which puts him at $6 million for the next 2 seasons after this year, and if that sign of decline is coming here, that contract could be actually a detriment to the Edmonton Oilers, could be another contract on that defense that does not look up to par. For the Oilers, they need Ekholm to get back to his game because this defense isn't floating, it isn't surviving, it is sunk in the deep depths of the NHL right now. And then you have, of course, the Connor McDavid injury, which has just exacerbated the problems for Edmonton. I mean, they scored 4 goals against Minnesota. That should be enough to win you games, but when you're allowing 7, it's obviously a much different story. So for this Oilers team, yes, Connor McDavid being out hurts. It really does hurt. He's Connor friggin' McDavid. At the same time, that's not the issue that this Oilers team has really ran into. Sure, losing McDavid sucks, but the star power for the most part has been solid for Edmonton. Leon Draisaitl has still been unbelievable this season. The problem has been the depth, some of that middle 6 scoring, and that defense, man, and that's really created this huge problem that Edmonton's found themselves in. You look at that depth scoring and the forwards in general of this Oilers team, and you got, of course, players like Hyman and Nugent-Hopkins still hovering around point per game. You got Fogle playing pretty solidly this season with 3 goals in 6 games, but you got Evander Kane at half a point per game. Simply not good enough for him, and how many goals he's been against, has been on the ice for, is simply unacceptable. You got Dylan Holloway with 0 points this year. He was supposed to take a next step. Ryan McLeod, 0 points. Derek Ryan, 0 points. Ernie, Janmark, Brown. Connor Brown especially was supposed to come into this Oilers top 6 alongside McDavid and put up some good production. He's been the exact opposite of that and has been nowhere to be seen. 0 points, a -4, about as bad as you can be. And then you go on to the goaltending, which unfortunately hasn't been able to save them, but honestly, it might be one of the lesser problems with this team right now. You got Jack Campbell and Stuart Skinner. Right now, Jack Campbell is at a -1.63 goals saved above expected, and you got Stuart Skinner at a -4.67. They haven't been good. They've been pretty bad, in fact, below average, but honestly, the defense scares me more right now. Though, of course, with Stuart Skinner and how solid he was in the regular season last year for them, having him below average and so far one of the worst goalies as well in terms of goals saved above expected, that's another bad sign for this Oilers team on top of all the bad signs they've had so far. And actually, I lied, because Stuart Skinner has been one of the worst goalies in the NHL right now. You look at the, this is like the bottom 12 in terms of goals saved above expected. Right now, Stuart Skinner is 3rd worst in the entire NHL. Not where you want to be at. But that's just the thing. How do you win games without your top star in Connor McDavid, the best player in the league, without depth scoring, without good defense, without goaltending? Well, you don't. And so far, the Edmonton Oilers have not won games. Their 1-4-1 record of how they played so far actually shouldn't be surprising to anybody. With how bad that defense has been, with the goaltending struggling, with McDavid out. Sure, Leon Draisaitl and some of those other players have done well offensively, but at what cost? This Oilers team continually is finding ways to create problems for themselves. The defense is finding ways to get back to their worst selves. The goaltending is continuing to crumble. The depth scoring has evaporated. Every single potential problem for this Oilers team has come into play. And right now, they don't even look like a playoff team. They don't even look like some team that's worth a conversation right now. That's how bad they've been. And honestly, if they keep playing like this, I don't even care when Connor McDavid comes back. They're not going to be winning games when he does come back. They weren't winning games when he was in the lineup. They're not going to be winning games when he is in the lineup this way. If they're allowing 6 goals a game, 7 goals a game, no Connor McDavid, you could have Connor McDavid throughout the entire lineup and they'll still find ways to lose games. That's how rough this Oilers team has been, and that's how much disrespect they deserve. I mean, it's not even disrespectful. They are a horrible team right now, and it's just brutal to watch. And it's honestly quite sad because the Pacific Division hasn't been unreal this year. They haven't had, of course, all these crazy opponents to go through. They've had games versus Vancouver and games versus Philadelphia that they've choked in all 3 of those games. But you see teams like Seattle, like Calgary. I mean, the top 3, the third best team in the Pacific right now has 7 points in 6 games, which isn't insanely good or anything. The Oilers should be at the top of this tier, should be at least where the Vancouver Canucks are. But right now, they're 7th place right there with the Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks. That's just unacceptable. And I honestly feel bad for Jay Woodcroft, because what the heck do you do here with McDavid out? You have basically a roster that is playing the worst they possibly can and are in the worst position they could ever be in. With the way this roster was constructed, they've needed the D to at least be semi-competent, and they have been brutal to watch this year. The goaltending has struggled, and they have relied upon Jack Campbell now to be their starter after their rookie last year hasn't performed up to expectations this season. The depth, which was always a concern, has been about as bad as you could possibly hope to see. This Oilers team is dreadful, man, and I feel so bad for Oilers fans, dude, because this team doesn't look good. And even though it's overreaction, sure, we're 6 games into the year, this Oilers team is in a horrible spot. They are in a dreadful position, and right now in the Pacific Division, they have a chance to crawl out of it. Obviously, again, we are still just 6 games in, but this defense needs to get better first things first, because the way the forwards have played defensively, the way the defense has played defensively, it just can't last. And if it does, this team won't make the playoffs, simply put. But let us know down below. I want to know your thoughts on this Oilers team. Do you think it's just the way this team has been constructed? Do you think it's a team that isn't going to make the playoffs? Or do you think they can rebound in a big way once McDavid comes back? Do you think that defense will get better throughout the year? Do you think the goaltending will turn a page? Let us know. Is this Oilers team a playoff team? Yes or no this season? I'd love to know your predictions down below. And of course, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you haven't already. And of course, share the video with all the hockey fans, all the Oilers fans that you guys can. Get the destruction out to them. I'm sorry for all the Oilers fans that watch this, by the way. I love you guys. I hope it gets better for y'all. Of course, make sure you click on this card right here to watch all my hockey rankings content right in one playlist. A lot of content to binge there. And I will see you in the next one. Have a great day, and goodbye.